Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back, and I see you are as well. It's wonderful to see you all. And tonight, well, it is Thursday, February the 6th, and it is 6:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Like I stated in my last two videos, I am going to try to be earlier in the day. I do have some health issues, and the later I push it in the day, the more chance it is that I have to skip because my energy has just expired. So I thought I can do it earlier. That way, you know, when my energy dies, it's all right because I've got my show done. All right. Well, we are going to be looking at some news items and so forth tonight. I do have a lot of people to thank, but I'm going to leave that until the end. And I'm just going to jump in here. Now, some of this I had prepared for yesterday, thinking that I would be somehow able to do 3 videos, and I wasn't. I should have known better, but I did get 2 done, so that's good. But tonight it'll only be 1 video. I am working on more updates to the coronavirus, but I didn't want to do another video on that so soon. I'll wait and collect some really good data and then bring an update at a later time. And I'm hoping that tomorrow I will be able to get the probably the last or the second from the last installment on the Glamis calling. So that a lot of people have been asking about. So I am going to finish that, and I'm hopefully going to be bringing it to you tomorrow. We'll see. But let's jump in here. This is very important. I haven't seen the mainstream media talking about this at all, not in America, not anywhere else, but they have in Canada. So that is why I know, but a renowned Canadian scientist, Frank Plummer, dies in Kenya, where he led HIV breakthroughs. Now, you got to realize who this guy was. Plummer, 67, was infectious disease specialist who achieved international influence. Now, let's come down here. World-renowned scientist, Dr. Frank Plummer of Winnipeg. Where have we heard Winnipeg before? That was where the virus was stolen by Chinese and taken to Wuhan. So, yeah, that's very, you know, important. And Plummer, 67, was in Kenya, where he was a keynote speaker at the annual meeting of the University of Nairobi's Collective Center for Research and Training in HIV, AIDS, and STIs. Dr. Larry Gelman, who helped set up that meeting, said Plummer collapsed and was taken to hospital in Nairobi, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. No confirmed cause of death yet has been released, but I would suspect murder. For good reasons. Plummer was born and raised in Winnipeg, where he headed up, get it, Canada's National Microbiology Laboratory for several years. That is the laboratory in question. That is the laboratory where there were Chinese doctors that were working and had smuggled the virus out of Canada. So it's important because he was the head of this microbiology lab, and he is now dead of what I would assume are suspicious causes because he was perfectly healthy. He's still a relatively young man, 67, and yet right after he speaks, or I'm not sure if he had even gotten to speak yet, but he collapsed and was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. That's a pretty quick death, if you ask me, unless he died of a massive heart attack, which is possible. So he was head of the Canada's National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg. He was also involved in an innovative research partnership between the University of Manitoba and the University of Nairobi, established before the world was very aware of HIV and AIDS. He helped to identify a lot of key factors that are involved in HIV transmission in the early days, said Ken Folk, a professor in the Medical Microbiology and Infectious Diseases Department at the University of Manitoba. And Winnipeg, of course, is in the province of Manitoba, for those of you not from Canada. Before the partnership, scientists didn't know HIV could be passed on to women or to babies through breast milk. He developed a lot of interventions that helped save hundreds of thousands of lives across the world, folks added. Frank was definitely a brilliant mind. As a specialist in infectious diseases, Plummer's work influenced international public health policies. Frank dedicated decades of his time to Africa and led world-changing breakthroughs in HIV prevention. Matthew Gilmore, Director General of the National Microbiology Lab, wrote in an internal email to staff on the Public Health Agency of Canada on Tuesday. Of course, the most noteworthy breakthrough that he and his team made was the finding of female sex workers who were resistant to HIV. The gift these women had given science in the years since has been unparalleled. Frank had just had a joyful reunion with many of them a couple days before his passing. Another colleague, Dr. Alan Ronald, said Plummer's death is tragic and a loss for science. He was so hopeful that he was on the path that would end with discovery of the HIV vaccine, the road he had started down almost 30 years ago, Ronald said. And interesting to note that the coronavirus, and this is not particularly, these updates are not particularly about the coronavirus, but this just happened to fall into that. But it's interesting that this coronavirus has components of HIV in it. Very suspicious, very interesting. University of Manitoba President and Vice Chancellor Dr. David Barnard said Plummer had a great impact on global public health. He was admired and greatly regarded highly by academics and researchers around the world, and his legacy of seeking to develop an HIV vaccine remains one of the landmarks of infectious disease prevention, Bernard said. Dr. Theresa Tam, Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, I'm rolling my eyes because Dr. Theresa Tam, maybe I'm thinking of someone else, so you know what, I'm going to skip on that actual comment that I was going to say. But Dr. Theresa Tams, Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, took to Twitter to remember Plummer. Well, that we don't care so much about. He was, now this is fascinating. Plummer was recently living in Toronto, where he underwent experimental brain surgery to fight alcohol addiction. He was believed to be the first person in North America to undergo deep brain stimulation for that purpose. Frank was bigger than life. His physical presence and intelligence contradicted the fact that he was actually fairly quiet and shy guy, Gilmore's memo says. Science will continue to build on his accomplishments and improve public health in the world for many years to come. Plummer was in Kenya with his wife, Jo Kennelly, and his stepdaughter, Imogen, and the family had just enjoyed time on safari, Gilmore's memo said. But it's interesting that this guy had electrodes implanted in his brain. This was for deep brain stimulation to fight chronic alcoholism. But would there be some sort of kill switch in these electrodes? I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. I think it's very suspicious that he just dropped dead. He's only 67 years old. However, there are many things that can cause someone to drop dead. Massive heart failure is one. And if he had a history of alcoholism, that would not be so out of the question. But I just think it's interesting because he is one of the foremost experts in the world on HIV, and this coronavirus does have components of HIV within it, and he headed the lab that this coronavirus was probably stolen from, or at least stolen and then mutated to become even more deadly? I don't know, but it bears knowing and keeping in the back of our minds, because we don't know what's yet to come with this virus. So I'm going to move on from this, and we're going to go to the next thing. And of course, this is old now because it's already happened, but Ryan Fournier said, "We have an amazing president." Yes, we do. I think we could all agree on that. He plans to award Rush Limbaugh with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. God bless them both. And of course, he did. He did present Rush Limbaugh with the Medal of Freedom, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, at the State of the Union address. And, you know, I don't know about you, but my eyes were a little moist when he did that. Well, actually, it was Melania that did it. And I think it was a wonderful thing to witness. But let's go down to here. Now, a lot of you already are aware of this, but in case you're not, you need to be, because what happens in Canada affects the States. What happens in the States affects Canada. It's just the way it is. We're the biggest trade partners, and it's just very interesting with all the censorship happening in the United States that Canada has taken that censorship one step further. Now, of course, there's always been censorship here, always, because we don't get the right news. Trudeau paid billions of dollars in grants to media companies in exchange for positive news coverage. You don't see anything negative about Trudeau here, not by the main news outlets anyway. So, taking that a step farther, and before I go on, I want to explain something, because it seems like a lot of videos people comment on this and they're not aware. They question why I sound Canadian and I'm in Canada, but I make it sound as if I'm American and that Donald Trump is my president. Well, let me explain that to any of you that are new or that have missed the broadcast in which I explained that. I lived for most of my adult life, I've lived in the United States. I lived in the South, primarily in different states, but always in the South. And I love the States. I consider it my home. But my brother passed away tragically, and that was my only sibling. So my mother did not take the death well at all, and I was afraid that I was going to lose my mother as well. So what I did was I came home, and I'm glad I did. Now, my mother's doing fairly well, but she's elderly. She's in her 80s, and I just feel that I'm needed here right now. I don't have another brother or sister or anything that can look in on her and, take her to appointments and this and that. So that is why I'm in Canada. It is not because I want to be here. Of course, I want to be here for my mother. I love my mom, and I feel blessed to have her as my mother. And I celebrate every day that I have with her. But she's more of a real good friend than a mother at this point. And so that is why. But my intention is to return to the States. I am a permanent resident of the States. I should have, in hindsight, gotten my citizenship, but I didn't. And so it leaves me in a vulnerable situation right now, because I need to be in Canada, but my heart, my life, my soul is in the United States. So that is why. That is the answer to that question. So many people have asked that I thought I need to address that. All right. Now let's come back to Canada here, and let's see what Trudeau is up to. Here we go. Trudeau, minister. All news websites must get a government license for approved content. So if you are running any sort of a news site, even if you're just a little indie startup and you've got a little website that you're, disseminating news or discussing news at all, you need to have a government license. And the content needs to be approved. Now, what kind of content do you think is going to be approved? But better yet, the question is, what kind of content won't be approved. Well, certainly the kind of content that I'm doing, but Canada doesn't have an effect on YouTube, thank goodness. But you know, if I was publishing a website here in Canada, I'd be in big trouble. Or if I was using a platform, you know, a Canadian platform. So this is a little bit, well, it's very disconcerting if you ask me. The globalists and international left will not stop until they have complete control over your every thought. Justin Trudeau's heritage minister, Stephen Gilbolt told CTV on Sunday that all news websites, great and small, must now get a government license. And you should have heard this guy. I won't torture you with it, but he didn't answer questions in a straightforward manner whatsoever. Of course, that's what you would expect here. We don't get things leaked out here in Canada like the States. It's much easier to investigate things in the States than it is Canada because you will be stonewalled at every turn. But anyway, the government will decide what voices will be allowed for mass distribution. So, isn't that, you know, I guess it wouldn't be so bad if you had a government that was, you know, operating by the will of the people, but you certainly don't here at all. So this should scare the hell out of Canadians. Yes, I'm guilty. I did have the hell scared out of me. But on the other hand, I have to trust that if the Lord wants my voice out there and what I have to say out there, then it'll get out there. And if not, he can shut me down in a second. So I'm resting in that. Anyway, are they that far gone that they don't care that the leftist government can now control their access to information? No, the people of Canada are not that far gone. It's not the people of Canada. We don't have a choice over what's done. They're going to do what they're going to do. And, you know, pardon my French, but to hell with the Canadian people. They don't care about what the Canadian people want. Not at all. Just like the deep state in the South. Do you think Nancy Pelosi cares what the people want? If she did, she wouldn't have tried to impeach a duly elected president. So yeah, it's the same here, except the deep state is in control here. So yeah, all news outlets have to have a government license. Basically, it's a license. So yeah, there you go. We won't belabor that, but let's go on. And look at this. Canadian for Trump. Are you aware Greta Thunberg has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize second year in a row? What? What has she done to promote peace or bring peace to the world? I'm just asking. Is this award just becoming a joke? Oh yeah, Obama won it. I guess that answers my question. Yes, I think it has become a joke, really. And no, I don't think that Greta Thunberg should be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize because, you know, she's parroting the words of the adults around her. These are not her unique thoughts. And it's obvious because if they try to interview her or someone tries to talk to her outside of a scheduled meeting, she doesn't know what to say and she can't answer questions. So she is being coached. She had wanted to be an actress, and by gosh, she is. And she's doing a very good job of being an actress, but that is what she is. She is backed by big money. She is backed by the cabal. And yeah, no, she hasn't done anything. And I think that she is being used and abused. And I think it's disgusting. That's what I think. All right. Now, let's look at this. The H5N8, Saudi Arabia reports outbreak of highly pathogenic bird flu virus. Why are all these viruses just popping up everywhere? All sorts of viruses. All right, let's look at this. An outbreak of a particularly contagious bird flu has been reported in Saudi Arabia. The World Organization for Animal Health warns as the world struggles to contain the spread of the deadly China coronavirus. The outbreak took place in the central Sadr region, located some 150 kilometers north of the nation's capital of Riyadh. The disease already killed more than 22,000 birds, the OIE said, citing the Saudi Agriculture Ministry. More than 385,000 birds were also slaughtered out of precaution. This is the first such outbreak since July 2018. The H5N8 strain of bird flu, which was detected in Saudi Arabia, was previously considered not particularly contagious for humans, yet it has already declared to have been increasingly more pathogenic. So that doesn't really answer the question. Is it contagious to humans or not? Clucking Hell, new outbreak of bird flu sees thousands of chickens culled in coronavirus-stricken China. Earlier on Tuesday, a similar alarming report about a bird flu outbreak came from Vietnam, where another highly pathogenic virus strain, H5N6, led to the death of 2,200 birds in a village in the country's north. On February 1st, China, which had already been gripped with a novel coronavirus originated from the city of Wuhan, reported that an outbreak of the deadly H5N1 bird flu was detected in its central Hunan province. So now we've got H5N1, H5N6, and H5N8, all simultaneously affecting the bird population. So while it hasn't occupied the news spotlight lately, H5N1 is said to be an even deadlier virus to those who contract it. Nearly 60% of H5N1 patients, okay, obviously you can contract that, the H5N1, patients die after contracting the sickness. So 60% of those that catch H5N1 die. Compared to 2% of Wuhan coronavirus. Well, that is a lie. It's not 2% of Wuhan coronavirus. It's not that at all, because we are not getting the proper numbers to be able to make that kind of assessment. When the Chinese government starts being honest about what the numbers really are, then the world can see how deadly the Wuhan virus is. But it's more than 2%. And we will never get the true numbers of those killed in Wuhan, because they're being incinerated before they're even tested. They're dropping dead in the streets, and they're being taken the bodies are taken immediately to be incinerated. And of course, I understand that, because the body is still toxic and still shedding virus. You can't have, that, hanging around in a funeral home. So yeah, I understand that, but we're not getting the numbers. They're not being properly reported at all. Not at all. People are dying in their homes. They are going in and they're seeing whole families dead now. There was a picture, I'm not sure if I reported on that yesterday in the video or not, but that is what's happening. And they're out of test kits. So how can they even test for those that have Wuhan coronavirus? So yeah. The 2% is ridiculous and laughable, but this is also of concern, H5N1, because it also is deadly, possibly as deadly as the coronavirus. Who knows what the true rate of death is in the nCoV virus, because we'll never know the true numbers. But anyway, wanted you to be aware of that, and let's go back here. All right, it says, whoa, new verified numbers for last night's primary in Iowa are out. Democrat overall votes are way down. Well, what do you expect? Donald Trump took Iowa with even more authority than I thought last night, receiving over 93% of all votes cast last night. We absolutely smashed Democrats in Iowa. Well, you would expect to, don't you think? Yes, Iowa is traditionally, I believe, Democrat, but, well, Donald Trump is on fire. Now, we don't need to look at all the numbers, but let's come down here. And let's, this is the most ridiculous thing. This is kind of not as new news as I would like, but still, I had wanted to cover this. Excuse me. Drink water so that my voice doesn't give out. Adam Schiff warns Donald Trump could give Alaska to the Russians if not impeached. Is this guy, like, taking mushrooms, or, like, what is he on? He just makes up stuff. I've never seen the likes of this. Like, when he talked about the call between the president of Ukraine and Donald Trump, he just made that whole thing up. Donald Trump didn't say those things, not even close. And here he's saying, oh, Donald Trump's going to give Alaska to the Russians. If he's not impeached, we better impeach him. Impeach him quicker. Alaska's gone. I mean, give me a break. House impeachment manager and House Oversight Chairman Adam Schiff warned Monday that President Donald Trump might give Alaska to the Russians if he's not impeached. Oh, impeach him. Schiff disagreed with the president's lawyer, who argued that Trump's actions were not criminal and should not be considered impeachable. He warned that they were setting a precedent that would only encourage Trump to pursue unacceptable actions if exonerated. Trump could offer Alaska to the Russians in exchange for support in the next election, he said, or decide to move to Mar-a-Lago personally and let Jared Kushner run the country, delegating to him the decision whether to go to war. And where's he getting this? That's right, he's pulling it out of his hinder parts. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from the place where the sun don't shine. And, you know, it's absolutely ludicrous. And I just, I'm not going to read all this. Well, that's pretty much it anyway. Unbelievable. And I loved it when, you know, Trump was exonerated. I was so happy, so happy. And I've been watching his speech today, his just awesome. Made me very, very, very happy. And I bet it made you happy too. All right, let's look at this. Oh, I loved this minute. I loved this, and I'm sure you did as well. You've probably seen it several times now. But in case you haven't, I loved this. Watch. Trump won't shake Nancy Pelosi's hand at State of the Union. Do you blame him? Why would he shake his hand as if everything is amicable and wonderful between them when this woman has not given him a moment's rest in 3 years and pulled all sorts of childish stunts, and ripping up the speech at the end had to be the most childish thing I've ever seen, really. All right, so President Trump snubs House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's attempt to shake hands before delivering Tuesday evening State of the Union address. Now, I'm not going to get into all this, but I do want to show this. And people notice because you could hear people going, oh. Now, let's just play that again in case you missed it. So, well, wait, I didn't go back here. She goes to shake his hand. He doesn't have any part of it. And then she makes a little with, you know, because she's embarrassed. That's why people make those kind of faces. She's embarrassed. Oh, he won't shake my hand. Like she's surprised. She's a piece of work. That's the nicest thing I can say about her. All right, let's go back here and let's look at this. And it says, in surprise move, First Lady Melania Trump presents Rush Limbaugh with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's worth seeing if you have not. So,
receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
A look of complete surprise. Makes me happy to watch this. He deserves it.
I will now ask the First Lady of the United States to present you with the honor, please.
A beautiful, beautiful moment. And everybody clapped except the Democrats. I'm not sure if they show them or not.
I am proud to...
No, they don't show the Democrats, but if you look at all their faces, none of them, they didn't stand up to clap. They didn't care. But I think Rush has done a wonderful job, and I think he deserved that, and I think it's wonderful, and I pray, sincerely pray, that the Lord would heal him of his cancer, because he still has work to do. He still has work to do. So, all right, let's go back now, and let's look at this. Now, this is very, very interesting and suspicious. Judge demands answer from Jeffrey Epstein's estate after millions of dollars flood into his dormant offshore bank in the Virgin Islands and then disappear. This adds weight to the supposition that Epstein is alive and in hiding. Well, that is riveting information, to tell you the truth, because this money, and I don't know where it came from, but it flowed into his dormant offshore bank in the Virgin Islands and then just disappeared. Well, he would be the only one that could take that out of the bank, I would assume, or maybe his estate, I don't know, but it's gone. So yeah, I would say that that is a good indication that he very well could be alive. Now, personally, I don't believe that he ever died in the first place. I really don't. That's just me. And there are people that believe that he is dead, and there's people that don't. I don't personally believe he's dead, but I guess time will tell. All right, now I'm going to show you something else that's a little bit disturbing. Not a little bit, it's a lot. When I say a little bit, I mean a lot. All right, Queen's driver dies after admitting raping children in Buckingham Palace. The former royal chauffeur admitted crimes but died before the police could charge him. Well. Now, this was a year ago. I'm only finding this now, so I don't know. Did anybody hear about this? Did anything ever become of it? For some reason, I completely missed this. So this happened a year ago. Former chauffeur to the Queen admitted sexually abusing a young boy in Buckingham Palace along with another boy at the home of a relative has died before police could press charges. Alwyn Stockdale, while he was 81, admitted to attacking the 10-year-old boy and another under the age of 14 in 1970s. Stockdale, who had retired from his chauffeur to the British royal family, was due to be charged by police for raping one of the boys, but died in hospital from natural causes last week. Okay, well, he died of natural causes. There you go. I don't know. But I had not heard anything about that. If you guys had heard it, and I missed it, let me know in the comments below. All right, let's go back because there's more. There's always more. All right, Now, I don't know what this is, but let's go. Let's go take a look anyway. Well, oh yes. Pelosi says Trump's State of the Union had no contact with reality whatsoever. What State of the Union was she listening to? Because it was all based on fact. I thought it was the best State of the Union ever. Not that I've, since in my lifetime anyway. Washington, Speaker Nancy Pelosi slammed President Trump's State of the Union address and defended ripping up a copy of the speech, saying his remarks were more reflective of his state of mind than the actual state of the country. Pelosi spoke to reporters at the Capitol the day after the Senate voted to acquit the president. Yay! He's acquitted. On Thursday, Pelosi accused Mr. Trump of insulting Congress and disrespecting the House chamber. Does anybody listen to her when she flaps her gums and plays with her denture and sucks on them? I do think she has tardive dyskinesia. What that is from, whether it's from a life of alcoholism or a life of, psychotropic drugs, I don't know. But to me, it looks like she's got tardive dyskinesia. On Thursday, as you know, this week we had a State of the Union. As required by the Constitution of the United States, the president is to submit in writing or in person his statement of the State of the Union, Pelosi said. What happened instead was the president, using the Congress of the United States as the backdrop for a reality show, presented a state of mind that has no contact with reality whatsoever. I think she's talking about herself having no contact with reality. I don't know. She's like from another planet, really. I don't know if the president understands about prayer or people who pray. I pray for the United States of America. I pray for him. I pray for President Bush still, President Obama, because it's a heavy responsibility. I pray hard for him because he's so off track of our Constitution, our values, our country. He really needs our prayers so he can say whatever he wants, but I do pray for him, and I do sincerely and without anguish, gently. That's the way I pray for everyone else, Nancy Pelosi. And interestingly enough, at the prayer breakfast, Trump said, I hate people that use their religion to go ahead and do things that they know are wrong, and people that say they're praying for you when they're not. And this could be a retort to that. So Speaker Pelosi responds to Donald Trump's rebuff of those who pray for him. I don't know if the president understands what about prayer. I pray hard because he's so off the track of our Constitution. Yeah. Oh, and she added that his comments about Senator Romney were without class. Well, she should know all about what being without class is like. Because she doesn't, you know what? Her I think it's 120 million that she's worth. You can't buy class. You can't. There are some very poor people that have a wonderful sense of class about them. And there are some extremely rich people who don't, and she fits into the latter category. I extended a hand of friendship to him to welcome him as President of the United States to the People's House. It was also an act of kindness because he looked to me a little sedated. Speaker Pelosi says of Trump during State of the Union, adds, I shredded his state of mind address. And she mentioned twice that he looked like he had been sedated, and this wasn't the first time. Right. Well, she should know all about being on drugs. I don't think he looked sedated at all. The whole State of the Union was beneath the dignity of the White House, an insult to the Congress of the United States and the American people, Speaker Pelosi says in her first press conference since her dramatic exit from State of the Union. She always has to be the center of attention. Do you notice that? She is a classic narcissist. That's the way narcissists are. Doesn't matter if it's not about them. It's about them. Everything's about them. They think highly of themselves and poorly of others. And, this is unbelievable because everyone that I've seen in news, online, everything, everybody is all saying this was the most awesome State of the Union address ever. It'll go down in history. But then there's Pelosi trying to keep the attention on her when she's clearly, she is the dead horse that's already been flogged. You know, she's just, I don't see her making a comeback from this at all. And I think she's going to lose her seat next year. That's my opinion. You may have a different opinion, but that is what my opinion, and I'm basing that on, you know, facts, because people are not happy with her. So if she gets in next year, it will be because she cheated, really, or because her constituents are mainly Democrats. I don't know, but I would not give her another kick at the can, that's for sure. And think of how much the country would save in booze bills alone. I mean, her booze bills are like $1,000 a month, $1,000 a week, isn't it? That she spends on booze. It's crazy. So anyway, let's go on now. And Pelosi's State of the Union stunt may have broken law. This is from Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz filed an it's from American Inc., but Matt Gaetz is the one that brought this to everyone's attention. Matt Gaetz filed an ethics complaint against Pelosi that said she may have broken the law. Gaetz asked that after an ethics probe, referrals be made to the DOJ for further investigation and prosecution. She should not have ripped up that speech because apparently it was a document, a formal document, whatever. I guess, from what I'm seeing, it is against the law. There's a law against that, and she transgressed it. So I do hope that she is held accountable. Nancy Pelosi's State of the Union stunt may have broken the law. Republican Matt Gaetz filed an ethics complaint against Nancy Pelosi and said the House Speaker possibly violated numerous House rules. So, and this, again, from American Inc., GOP planning to expunge impeachment if they win House. Pelosi taunted that impeachment will last forever. Kevin McCarthy doesn't agree. If McCarthy takes over from Pelosi in 2021, he will hold immense power, and a vote to expunge would have party line support. So, yeah. And of course, when they tore the articles of impeachment, they said, now he's acquitted forever. I loved that. I loved it very much. So the Republicans are planning to expunge Trump's impeachment. So, yeah, he has been acquitted, but still, if that's not expunged, he still remains impeached in the House. So, yeah. It's important to get that expunged. So let's look at this. From the True Pundit, Senator Rand Paul just beat CIA stooge John Brennan like a rented mule, and the internet rejoiced. Yes, it did. Former CIA boss John Brennan just got beat like a rented mule. Smackdown. Don't be beating down your rented mules, people. I don't know where that saying came from, but don't you beat a rented mule or any mule. Mules deserve, mules are people too. No, they're not. Well, they're sort of. They've done us well, these mules. We shouldn't be beating them. But, John Brennan, that's another story. Hit him with sticks. I don't care. Smackdowns don't get any worse than this on social media, and the internet quickly and happily took note. You want to know what's a mockery of public service? John killing 500 people outside any judicial system. Drone strikes on American citizens. Approving British spies to present a dossier of lies paid for by Hillary. Lying to Congress. Your shame alone should shut you up. That by Rand Paul. Ooh. You want to know what's a mockery? Okay, well, we just read that. And he was saying that in response to John Brennan, who wrote, Rand Paul is beneath contempt. He typifies the worst of Donald Trump's craven enablers. Any senator excusing this dangerous behavior makes a mockery of public service. History will revile all of you. Well, don't think so, John Brennan, but I think history's going to have something to say about you. Yeah. All right. So Paul's sentiments seem to strike a chord with many. And this person said, it's about time somebody told that guy off. Yeah, really. And this person said, sociopaths like Commie John have no shame. No, they don't. And this person said, thank you, Senator. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of Brennan and his coup d'etat soon. And this one said, Brennan, I'm impressed that your phone Wi-Fi reaches that far up Obama's underparts. And this says, straight savage, and I approve. And this one just says, boom. Amen, Senator. Problem is, Brennan has no shame. He is a completely debased human being and should be far removed from any and all political power. Well, I would say not just political power. Power in general should not be, because this guy gets drunk on it. Absolutely. And this person said simply, boom. So there you have it. Rand Paul telling off John Brennan, who deserved it. No doubt about that. All right. Well, let's go back and can't remember what this is, but it's got to be something good. You know, wouldn't give you guys garbage. It says, what in the world? Pete Buttigieg, senior campaign advisor, hired his own wife's company, Shadow Inc., to get this, to count her husband's candidate votes. Who won? Mayor Pete's campaign gave $42,500 to Shadow Inc. And apparently, now I could be understanding this wrong, but there was something in this that was giving him, I can't remember. I can't talk about it intelligently because I wasn't paying that much attention when I read it. So I'm not going to say that because it might be disinfo. So I'll check it out before I comment. All right. Now, let's come back here and okay. Deranged dog with a bone. Speaker Pelosi literally just accused POTUS of being on drugs. You can call Donald Trump a lot of things, but sedated is not one of them. Looks like a lateral move from impeachment to the 25th Amendment. Shameless. Yeah, I bet you any money that is what they're going to try again. Next is the 25th Amendment, which says that if someone is not fit mentally or physically to hold office, they can be removed. Bet you any money that's where she goes next with her little band of merry men and women. So let's listen to this.
House was also an act of kindness because he looked to me like he was a little sedated. He looked that way last year too. House was also an act of kindness because he looked to me like he was a little sedated. He looked that way last year too. House.
So what's she saying there? She's obviously saying that he was on something. Oh, and he looked that way last year too. So that's where she's starting to go. This from the lady and sucking her dentures all day. It makes me sick to my stomach. Like, it honestly does. I can't stand that. She was doing it at the State of the Union. I don't know if any of you guys caught that watched it, but she was sucking on those dentures. It's disgusting. It really is. And I don't, at this point, think she can help it because she's got to have heard from everyone. I mean, hopefully she has people around her that tell her the truth, but probably not. She probably fires those and hires people that lie to her. But somebody should tell her because it's revolting. And she has, I mean, look, her eyes are all bloodshot. She looks sedated or drunk, one or both. But anyway, Donald Trump does not take drugs. He does not drink. And I believe that because there's never been anybody that has suggested that he does or that he's ever taken a drink. Everybody who knows Donald Trump knows he doesn't drink, and that you've got this lush accusing him of what? I don't know. She probably doesn't even know. She's a piece of work. A big piece of work. Now, I've got to show you something. It's a little humorous, but there's truth in humor. That's what makes good humor, is when there's that truth in it. All right, so we're going to do that, and then that will be it for this video. I don't think I will be doing another one tonight. I still have some errands to run, and I do have to do some research. So this will probably be it for tonight anyway. Tomorrow I'm going to aim for 2. We'll see. All right, so this is the last thing I want to bring to you. The densest element in the known universe has been found. Now, I don't know if all of you guys are aware of it, but it has. It's been found. It's called polonium, and its symbol is Pu. A major research institution has just announced the discovery of the densest element yet known to science. The new element has been named polonium. Polonium has 1 neuron, 12 assistant neurons, 75 deputy neurons, and 223 assistant deputy neurons, giving it an atomic mass of 311. These particles are held together by dense forces called morons, which are surrounded by vast quantities of lepton-like particles called pions. The symbol of polonium is Pu. Polonium's mass actually increases over time as morons randomly interact with various elements in the atmosphere and become assistant, deputy, and neutrons within the polonium molecule, leading to the formation of isotopes. So there you go. You should spread that far and near, because, that's important news. This characteristic of moron promotion leads more scientists to believe that polonium is formed whenever morons reach a certain density of voting concentration. So you will have to keep an eye out for polonium. Yes, densest substance in the universe. Who knew? I'm not sure what this is, but I'm going to go and look at it. I thought that was the last item, but I was wrong. Oh, yes. Have to see this. Have to see this. Have to see this. Pelosi pre-ripped those pages. Demented, devious, hateful. There is no truth in her, only hate. Sad. Let's watch this, shall we? Let's make it big. Make it big, and it was. Now, let's watch.
Almost every American family knows the pain when a loved one is diagnosed with a serious illness. Here tonight is a special man, beloved by millions of Americans.
So did you see her?
Almost every American family knows the pain.
There she pre-ripped the pages. So when he was announcing Rush Limbaugh, there she is pre-tearing the pages for her grand exit. And she stood up and ripped them with such flair. I guess she didn't want to be embarrassed by not being able to rip them. And she divided it into several. Now, somebody said, oh, she wasn't strong enough to rip all those pages. I don't know about that. I think it was more of dragging it out to be more of a production, because, she wants all eyes on her. Right. All right. So that is that for tonight, and I thank you guys so much. I do have some people to thank, and I'm going to do that right now. And I am grateful for these people. I haven't thanked people for a few days, so it's kind of added up here. But coffee donors, Brenda Snyder, Laureen, AL Systems, Ruby, Smoke Cal 11, one who does not want to be mentioned. That sounds ominous. Anon, Common Sense, Futi, and thank you, Futi, for putting this in here so I could pronounce your name. I appreciate that, because I hate it when I mess up people's names. Thank you for your contribution, and Carolyn Thomason and Chrissa M. Thank you guys so much for donating via the coffee app, and I really appreciate that. And also Patreon, we picked up one new Patreon, Exploring the Autism Universe, and thank you very much. And I got a snail mail. I haven't been to the mail in several days, so I need to do that. But I did get a snail mail from Sandy Morris, who sent me a Valentine and a contribution. Thank you so much, Sandy. It made me smile. So thank you, guys. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate your kind I appreciate your kindness to one another, and I appreciate your kindness to me. I really do. I have wonderful listeners, and I don't know what I did to deserve you all, but thank you for listening, and I hope you'll join me tomorrow. All right, guys. Well, that is it, and I hope you have a good night. Stay safe, stay well, and keep seeking truth. Good night.